I believe that both Bitcoin and Nvidia have another wave to the downside coming for them. In this video, I want to explain a few reasons why I believe this from both a technical and fundamental standpoint. My name is Royce Jacob, and welcome back to Waves Capital. So, on top of taking a look at Bitcoin and Nvidia on the charts, going over a couple of quick articles and referencing just some excerpts from my recent newsletters, I do also want to take a look at Bitcoin miners. We'll take a look at RIOT platforms and Marathon Digital. I'll give you guys my price targets for those two just because they're so near and dear to the channel. And I want to talk about how I'm trading this, what I'm shorting, because I'm not actually shorting Nvidia specifically, but I am shorting a few assets that are adjacent to Nvidia that I believe carry a bit lower risk. And I want to explain why that is, and of course, what those positions are, because they've really already been making us some great returns over Waves Capital. First link in the description if you want to trade with us on a daily basis. And if you do, welcome to the winning team. More on that later. And of course, you receive the trade alerts and newsletters as well. But again, we'll touch on those in a little bit. Bitcoin is not looking too hot right now. Okay. And before we even jump into the charts, I want to take a look at this quick CNBC article. Okay. The stock market is in its longest stretch without a 2% sell-off since the financial crisis. The key points, the S&P 500 has gone 377 days without a 2.05% sell-off. That's the longest stretch for the benchmark since the great financial crisis, according to FactSet data compiled by CNBC. This market lull comes as investors pile into mega-cap stocks such as Nvidia amid bets that AI will boost profits. Okay, so we don't need to read over this, but I do just want to take a quick look at this chart here. Okay, pause it if you guys would like, but this just shows on a chart, it's a bit of a confusing chart, but if you guys... It took me a few seconds of staring at it to actually get what's going on here. But again, it just sums up the fact that we are in the longest stretch of time, the longest period of time without a significant correction. Okay. And significant is, I guess, in the eye of the beholder, but 2.05% is what is considered significant here. And if the S&P 500 falls 2%, it's pretty darn likely that assets like Nvidia and the NASDAQ will fall significantly more than that just because they're more volatile, and Nvidia has been going parabolic, and that's simply not sustainable. Okay, so before I jump into Bitcoin and Nvidia as well, we'll just back to back these two. I want to reference where to go, this guy right here. Okay, I usually have on CNBC while I'm writing my newsletters, while I'm trading in the morning, and this came up and I thought it was incredibly interesting. So this was an excerpt, or I guess this was a segment that Mike Santoli, he's probably my favorite CNBC analyst, Mike Santoli does right after the markets close. And he was featuring this chart that was Bitcoin versus Nvidia. So it's a chart showing the parity between Bitcoin and Nvidia's charts. Okay. If you look at this, you can see that Nvidia and Bitcoin is the orange line, Nvidia is the blue line. You can see that Nvidia and Bitcoin were tracking each other, not necessarily one-to-one, but pretty much in lockstep for quite a while, up until February, March, April, May of this year, when we saw that second wave come for Nvidia and AI stocks. Okay, you guys know the drill. The reason we coined the two-wave pattern many years ago, that still comes into play today, and is exactly why I feel the video will fall further, is because it's incredibly rare, regardless of fundamentals. Again, if you watch my recent Nvidia bubble popping video, that is so far aging pretty well. I don't doubt the fundamental momentum of Nvidia. I don't doubt the fact that Nvidia is probably the foundational base layer for what's potentially the next major wave of the internet revolution, of the technological revolution, which is AI. They provide the picks and shovels for that. Okay, picks and shovels, you guys know the gold analogy. But things can't just go up forever. And again, even when you measure the PE, price to earnings, forward PE ratio of Nvidia, it's still incredibly overinflated. Even if they were to grow at the pace at which they're growing now, which they're probably not. Okay, so not all things can go up forever. All great parties must come to an end. I think semiconductors are going to fall. Historically, July is the worst month of the year for semis. So, we're coming up on July quick. The fireworks are going to explode at semiconductors as well. Maybe not explode, but you guys get what I'm saying there. I don't think it's going to be good news for semiconductors in the month ahead. And with that in mind, because Bitcoin and Nvidia trade in a sort of lockstep, I think that Bitcoin is going to fall as well. So that's kind of my fundamental thesis when it comes to the technicals. The technicals are pretty simple here. Bitcoin is not looking good. We're currently, I'm on 4-hour candles right now. That's my personal favorite time frame for kind of medium term, short to medium term price action. And you can see here the Bitcoin did just cross, as far as 4-hour RSI is concerned, where my cursor is hovering here at the bottom, about eye level. 4-hour RSI curled over or broke below its exponential moving average, okay? The blue line right there crossed over the white line. That's bad news and curling to the downside. On top of that, 4-hour RSI just saw a pretty organic curl back to the downside while we're also being held below this line of resistance that's been in place since June 12th, since the beginning of this month, okay? So Bitcoin is, and a surprise to no one, on a downtrend. Where do I think we go from here? If you watch my recent Bitcoin video that I actually posted, I mean, it's a couple of weeks ago now, to be honest. Probably 2 weeks ago I posted that. I do think Bitcoin is likely to play out this worst case scenario, given my bearish sentiment around Nvidia. Again, those charts are in lockstep. I think Nvidia gets another wave to the downside by the weekend. If you guys are watching this, pretty much the final week of June, by July 1st, I think we do. I should say by the first week of July, by 4th of July weekend, by July 5th, which is next Friday. I do think that both of these assets see a significant wave to the downside once again. Again, I'll cover Nvidia's price targets right after this, but I think Bitcoin probably falls down to the $53,000 region to retest this prior untested macro high. Check it off as a new floor. We got that out of the way, and we can resume the party from there. Okay? So, again, it's not fun being a bear, but as I said in a recent newsletter, I'm not here to trade on emotion. I'm not here to trade assets. I don't care if I even really like an asset. If the fundamental and technical arguments make sense to me, make sense to trade, make for a good trade in my opinion, I'm going to take that trade because at the end of the day, I'm trying to make money and I'm trying to feed my family. Okay? So on that note, once again, if you guys do want to join Waves Capital, if you want to know how I'm trading my personal options portfolio and entire portfolio on a daily basis, it's the first link in the description of this video. You'll receive everything that this box here entails. The newsletters that I'm referencing right here. Write these bad boys every morning if you want these in your inbox. Multiple newsletters every trading day. Then it's the first link. $15 a month, $40 for every 3 months. Completely up to you. Try it free if you want. If you don't like it, you just peace out. But it's very rare that happens, and I'm very proud of that because this is pretty much my life's work. Silence is what's going on there. But anyway, if you guys want to join Waves Cap, it's the first link in the description. Welcome to the winning team if you do sign up. And, if not, no worries at all. I appreciate you watching this video still. Okay, so that said, let's take a look at NVIDIA really making a comeback over the course of the day. But ultimately, I do think that NVIDIA is going to see another wave to the downside. Let's start short term, and then we'll zoom out. So right now, you can see NVIDIA in the past 45 minutes really making a comeback. I clearly don't believe this is going to last. I do think that we get another wave to the downside. I think this is some faux upside because the volume is still not very impressive, if I'm being honest. So I think that NVIDIA probably ends up playing out what is a head and shoulders pattern. Okay, here you can even expand this just a little bit just because the volatility is so high right now. Head and shoulders pattern is, as this chart implies right here, a bearish pattern. So let's get the base of the head right there, get the base of the neck right there. I do think that ultimately NVIDIA does come down once again. We get another wave to the downside. I don't think that this is I don't think that this was a healthy correction prior to new highs. I think that what we saw over the past day or two, even today, because we're really crawling back into the green quick, is a dead cat bounce. And a dead cat bounce is where an asset that has been climbing extremely, I guess a dead cat bounce, which especially applies to assets like NVIDIA, when you see a two-wave like this, a crazy pattern like this, is when an asset falls hard, bounces hard, and, obviously goes back down and does not resume the rally, as I just alluded to. Okay? So I do think that in the short term, zooming back in, I do think that NVIDIA plays out this head and shoulders pattern. I think that we ultimately Thursday, Friday, I do think that we come back down to the 118 region. And ultimately, I think we come down here, travel sideways for a little bit, and then play out this larger head and shoulders pattern, which will ultimately bring us back down to 105, 106 by, I'll say 105, 106 probably by 4th of July weekend, which does translate nicely to my NASDAQ thesis. So, okay. So, in my NVIDIA bubble popping video, I said $95, $97 was going to be my target. I struggle to believe that NVIDIA falls below $105. I guess time will tell. Again, we're coming back pretty insanely as we close out the day. Again, I really don't think this will last. I think this is some faux upside given, I mean, that's some bearish divergence right there. But anyway, I think NVIDIA comes back down. I do think we fall down to 106, and I think that brings down like the NASDAQ and other semiconductor stocks with it. Okay. On that note, I will say that I am shorting AMD right now. Those shorts have been doing good for us over at Waves Capital so far. I do also have puts on the TQQ. So puts on AMD and puts on TQQ, I think are, I don't want to say safe. I definitely don't want to say safe, but I think they are better ways to short NVIDIA than NVIDIA itself, which we're kind of, I mean, NVIDIA is ripping back right now in the past, literally 45 minutes, half hour alone. So again, I do think it is sketchy to short NVIDIA, but you can short things that NVIDIA is directly adjacent to, like AMD, like QQ, to TQQQ, which is a 3x leverage ETF of the NASDAQ, to potentially play the downside in NVIDIA. And again, always make your own decisions. It's your call at the end of the day, but know that my money is where my mouth is. Okay, so that's NVIDIA. Let's take a look at RIOT and Mara, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so RIOT specifically is underperforming NVIDIA once again, which I don't like to see, or I'm sorry, Mara, Marathon Digital, is underperforming Mara once again. But ultimately, I do think that we do still see RIOT play some catch up. I do still think RIOT makes somewhat of a comeback relative to Mara. And I do think that if Bitcoin does fall as I expect it to, the RIOT will see less downside than Marathon Digital. Okay. So RIOT is currently trading near the bottom end of this sideways trading range. If Bitcoin does fall to $53,000, I think RIOT, maybe we come back down to this prior low that we saw back in April of, high sevens, low eights. Personally, I don't imagine that we fall much lower than that. But ultimately, if Bitcoin can check this, check off this correction, check this box off, get this correction out of the way, retest that prior macro high as a new low, make our way back up, come mid-July, August, and then, resume the rally into fall, winter. Okay, so that is kind of my take on RIOT. And then Mara, honestly, if Mara, if Bitcoin falls, I think Mara's price trajectory is a lot easier, and I think it'll actually be the same pullback that RIOT would see, or similar, back down to the low that we saw back in April. That would be around $14-15. That also coincides with the line of support on this long-term megaphone channel. And as you can see here, Mara did recently, I guess like a week or so ago, break below and close a daily candle below the line of support on this ascending channel that was holding for quite a while. Very clean, pretty ascending channel. But again, all good things come to an end. If Bitcoin falls to 53,000, I think Mara falls back down to about, $14-15. Okay. So again, you guys, it's not fun being a bear, but that's just the nature of the game right now. NVIDIA really posing a comeback. It'll be interesting to see what happens Thursday and Friday of this week. But again, it's really difficult for me to believe that we don't see another wave to the downside, because it's not sustainable. It's not. Okay. So that's the video, you guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. Super interested there. Again, if you want to trade with me on a daily basis, it's the first link in the description of this video. And until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.